Welcome back, Age of Empires 4 fans. This video is going to feature all of the buildings, units, and technologies for the Abbasid Dynasty in Age of Empires 4. Now, this civilization has a lot of technology upgrades, so let's dig into it. So starting off here, you see our town center, which you can train your villager and your light scout, as well as research textiles, which will increase villagers' health by plus 25. You can see our villagers working on their farms right now around the town center, which you can build down here in this Age 1 panel, along with the basic resource collection buildings for the first age. So let's go through those buildings. You have your mining camp, which includes upgrades that improves your stone and gold mining. And then you have your lumber camp, which includes upgrades for forestry, which will help you remove trees faster, and then lumber preservation, which will improve your wood gathering rates. Now, do note that some of these improvements we're going to be going through will be specific to the Abbasid Dynasty, while others are very much just universal across all civilizations. While we're talking about economic buildings, right here we have our market, and for the market, you can train a trader, which can be tasked to either your allies' market or to one of these trading sites located out naturally on the map. So kind of a cool thing. If you've played Age of Empires 3, you're probably used to getting your upgrades for you to go at the market. But in Age of Empires 4, much more like Age of Empires 2, those upgrades will be coming at your drop-off points, as well as some of the other buildings I'm going to mention here in a bit. Okay, right next to our market, we have our blacksmith. Now, the blacksmith in Age of Empires 4, these upgrades will be generic for your units. So where in Age of Empires 2, you had to upgrade your cavalry's defense, then you had to upgrade your archer's defense, and then you had to upgrade your infantry's defense. These will be across the board. So if I upgrade my melee damage, this will improve all of my units' melee damage. If I upgrade my iron undermesh, ranged armor for all of my units are going to be upgraded, with the exception of some of those siege units. And then, of course, I actually created a guide on our naval upgrades because the ships work a little bit differently. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in a bit about how to upgrade your boats. So there is your armory. One of the cool upgrades is the military academy, which reduces the time it takes to produce infantry, cavalry, siege, and transport units at buildings by 25%. So that's a cool upgrade. Different units are going to have different civilizations will have different upgrades available there at the blacksmith. Okay, these are our houses which support our population for the every civilization, with the exception of the Mongols. Here in the front of my base, I've actually created 4 different towers, and these towers have different upgrades on them. So here's an unupgraded tower. You can see I have options to get arrow slits, springald emplacement, or cannon emplacement. Now, these are available as you go through the ages. I'm in age 4 right now, and you can see what these towers look like. There's one with the arrow slits, there's one with the springald, and there's one with the cannon. Okay, so they look a little bit different. And you might hear the music getting a little more exciting because we're close to our wonder victory. This is our beautiful wonder. Looks like I'm going to go ahead and delete that so our video doesn't end. Say goodbye to our wonder. No, the wonder! And while we're looking at the wonder, right next to it, we have built our mosque, which seems to be missing an icon. And the mosque will train your priest type unit. These are usually more unique for each of the civilizations. For the Abbasid Dynasty, the Imam. And these will be used for healing, picking up relics, maybe empowering your units if you're the Holy Roman Empire, etc. And there are typically different upgrades that are available here for each civilization, whether it's upgrades your priest or the rate of what the relics generate or what they generate. Some, like right here, relics place monastery get food, wood, and stone. Okay, so definitely don't neglect those upgrades at the mosque. One more economic building I've built here over on the east side of my base is the university. Now, the university is available in Age 4 and has very, very powerful techs. Okay, it has the elite army tactics to increase the health of all melee infantry. Your incendiary arrows that upgrade your archers. Biology is going to increase health of the cavalry. Geometry increases the damage of rams and trebuchets. Chemistry for your gunpowder units. And then court architects, which is going to increase the health of all your buildings. Okay, so those are all of your kind of defensive and economic upgrades. I guess these are military upgrades. And then here is our keep, or your castle, or stronghold, whatever you want to call it. And you can get additional emplacements, just like the towers, the spring gold, or the cannon. But you can also get boiling oil, which will be a defensive technology. And you can see, obviously, these are our stone walls. I've made gates. These are actually stone wall towers, which your units can use to walk on top of the walls, which could be really nice. And then these over here, I built some palisade wall and a gate, so you can see what that looks like. So I think that covers most of the buildings, but we haven't talked about our military buildings yet. Over here, I've made 2 of each of these. This is our barracks, our archery range, our stable, and our siege workshop. Now, from a distance, so you can make sure you can tell us apart. Obviously, the archery range has the target. The stable has a horse out in the courtyard. The barracks, this kind of looks like a small, almost like a smaller castle to me, with some towers in front. And then our siege factory, that one actually has an icon there. Our siege workshop, you can see the cogs there. Okay, let's go through what you can train in and upgrade here. So for the Abbasid Dynasty, they've got their spearmen and their men-at-arms. For the first age, for the second age, you can only get spearmen. You can't get men-at-arms till age 3 and their respective upgrades. In the archery range, you can train the archer, light infantry, crossbow, the cannoneer, hand cannoneer, and then the camel archer is their unique unit. And I'll go through those in a bit, and you can see their upgrades. And then for the cavalry, you've got your horseman, light infantry, or sorry, light melee cav, your heavy melee cav for your lancer. You have your camel rider, which is the unique unit, which is actually an anti-cav unit. And then your scout, which can also be trained at the town center. And last but not least, the siege workshop. You can train the springald, which is pretty much effective at being an anti-siege unit. A mangonel, good for groups of units, especially archers. A counterweight trebuchet, we all know and love. And then these 2 are probably my favorites next to the trebuchet. The bombard, which is good against just about anything it hits. And then the culverin, which is a cool unit for taking out enemy siege units from far range, and particularly for defense as well. Okay, so now we've got all the buildings and their upgrades. Let's get into the most important building of them all, the House of Wisdom. So for the Abbasid Dynasty, the House of Wisdom is how you age up. So I've actually already researched all of the age ups, which would be right here. But usually from left to right on this first row, you'd have the economic wing, the military wing, the culture wing, and then the trade wing. Now, I explained that all of these upgrades, they go left to right and then top to bottom. So what that means, this first one, which is the economic wing, will line up with all of these upgrades. These will be your military upgrades. This will be your culture upgrades. These will be your trade upgrades. And then from top to bottom, you have the second age, the third age, the fourth age. So with this, if you can actually get all of these upgrades, which is all of these wings at some point, which is cool. Then over here, these will be available upon reaching these ages. So let's go through them now. Increase the attack range of spearmen by plus 100% for the phalanx. Obviously, really good. Camel handling, increased movement speed of camels units by 15%. Composite bows reduces the reload time of archers by minus 25%. The camel barding increases the armor of camel units by plus 2. Okay, over here in our second age, fresh foodstuffs, my personal favorite, first one to get, reduces the cost of villagers by 50%. Camel support increases the armor of nearby infantry by plus 1. Camels do that, so camels kind of act as a support unit. Preservation of knowledge reduces the cost of technology by 30%. A good upgrade to get before researching all of these. And Spice Rose increases the gold income from traders by plus 30%. In the third age, agriculture will improve villagers' gathering rates for farmers by plus 15%. Camel Riders grants Camel Riders shields, improving their melee armor by plus 3. Keeps heal nearby units by plus 2 health every 1 second with the medical center. And then grants plus 5 armor for trade and trade ships. And lastly, in the last age, improved processing. Villagers drop off plus 18% more resources. Boot camp increases the health of all infantry by 15%. We've got faith. Imams can convert units without holding a relic, but can only target a single unit. So more like what we know from Age of Empires 2. And then the Grand Bazaar. Traders also return with secondary resource. This resource 25% plus the base gold value and is set at the market. Okay. One last thing, I didn't go through, I don't think I went through the mill upgrades. You get your wheelbarrow, which increases the capacity and movement speed across the board. So this is probably the only of those drop-off points that has the most universal kind of upgrade. Then you have your farming upgrade, hunting upgrade, and this professional scouts allows your scout to run out, hit a deer, and then bring him back to the town center, which is pretty cool. Okay, those are all of our upgrades. Let's go into our military units, which are located out here in front of our base. Okay, so I have made one of each. In the front line, we have our cavalry. So we have our camel archer, which is going to be good against, it's going to have a bonus for spearmen, and it's also effective against all cavalry and really good at raiding. We have our light cavalry, our horsemen, high movement speed, a good early raiding unit, and of course it's not an armored unit, so it'll be better against those crossbows or things that might be better against armored units. Our lancer, heavy armor, strong in melee combat, but it's countered by the spearmen and the crossbow. So expensive unit, very powerful, but countered by crossbows. And then we have our camel rider, which is a unique unit that is a light melee cavalry, good against enemy cavalry, and causes enemy cav to deal less damage. Okay. Now, one thing to note is this camel archer is actually made out of the archery range. So where these guys are all made out of the stable, this is the only one made from the archery range. Okay. In the second row over here, we have our range units. I guess they're kind of split up. So we have our crossbow, which is available in the third age, will be good for for countering armor units, so such as men-at-arms, enemy lancers. You have a hand cannoneer, which is pretty much good against everything. It's a really strong unit, a high cost, high damage, slow movement speed. Okay, and our last range unit, our light archer, light range infantry. This will be has a high rate of fire and is good against unarmored units. So this would be better against your cav archers. Will be good against better against maybe your horsemen or your spearmen. And then in our melee hand infantry, we have our spearmen, which will be good against cavalry. And then we have our men-at-arms, which is just a general all-around really good at anything it can hit. But the problem is, what's gonna counter it? It's a very heavy unit. Okay, back here we have our siege units. We have our Springald, which is going to counter enemy siege units. The Mangonel will be good against grouped up units. There's our Bombard, which is the all-purpose siege unit. Your Culverin, which will be good against enemy siege units, long range, you can see. Our Trebuchet, which will be good against enemy buildings. And then last but not least, our Imam, which will work as our healer. It can be used to convert. If you get the upgrade, you can pick up relics. And I think that is all of our units. So with that, I hope you have enjoyed my Sim City. Please let me know in the comments what you think about my city building. I spent a little bit more time on this video. I wanted my city to look really cool. But those are all the units and buildings and technologies for the Abbasid Dynasty, and I hope that helps you get started. I'll see you guys next time.